So I've decided to basically put my June TBR into your hands. Don't let me down, guys, okay? Hello friends, I'm Rosa. Welcome to the channel. Like I mentioned, I decided to basically, without you knowing, let you guys decide what I'm reading in June. So a couple of weeks ago, I posted over on the community tab asking for your favorite books and ended up going through all your recommendations, including the ones on Patreon, to figure out which books I had on my shelves, which ones I hadn't already read, and added your favorites, the ones mentioned the most, to my list. So, in June, I'll be reading your favorite books, and I'm both nervous, but also super excited for it. Two of these are from my Patreon. They're the picks, by the way, for my book club. If you want to check out the book club, there's a link to it in the pinned comment. So they've not been mentioned as favorite books, but I'm gonna include them in this video anyway. But other than that, I have a pretty, I got my list. My June TBR list. It's a very, very optimistic TBR list, I'll admit that, but I have expectations. I trust you guys have good taste in books, so I'm expecting to basically breeze through everything, except for maybe like a book because it's a pretty thick one. We'll get to it. But enough talk, let's get started talking about these different books, and let's start out with the book club picks for this month. The first one being The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. That was a weird way to pronounce her name. Olivie Blake? Wait, it's not even her name. It's a pen name. Anywho, I honestly don't fully remember what The Atlas 6 is about. But I know that I want to read it, so I put it up for a vote over on Patreon, and they picked this one as the first one, that's the primary pick. So I'm super excited. If you're curious, this is the Illumicrate version, by the way. It's holographic AF. That's what's going on the cover right now. Like, it's very colorful. All I know is that it has something to do with the Alexandrian Society. There are some students, possibly a professor, or at least this is what I think, or not a professor, but there's someone called Atlas who has some kind of task for these people, these 6 people, and that's all I want to know. I actually have chosen not to read the synopsis because I just want to be surprised. I'm like that sometimes. I'm sure you can kind of relate to that, at least some of you, but what I do know is that this is an adult fantasy, and there's a sequel coming out later this year, so I feel like it's a very good time to be reading this, and also that it's a very, very popular book. A very popular and very well-loved book. The book club's secondary pick is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, and this is a young adult sci-fi. I'm kind of counting on reading this before I go into the other Brandon Sanderson book in the stack of books, because I need to ease into his writing, and I feel like this is a very good way to do that. But in this book, we follow Spencer, who is our lead girl right here. Her dad used to be a pilot, and Spencer really wants to be a pilot too. The thing is, I'm not sure what, but her dad has done something and have kind of put their name in a bad light, if you can say so. And so Spencer is not actually allowed to be a pilot, or they don't want her in this program, or whatever's going on. But one day they're attacked by these flying aliens, they're attacked. And Spencer finds herself with a very interesting opportunity because she can join in this attack and help the people fighting the aliens. I just had to check the synopsis to see if I could remember it correctly, but yes, it's been a while since I read the synopsis, so I'm actually surprised that I managed to remember it. But I've heard lovely things about this book. I'm super excited to be reading some Brandon Sanderson as well. It's gonna be a very interesting time. I'm looking forward to it. I actually do own the second and the third book in this unfinished series. So if I like it, I might put them on my TBR for July. We will see. But I'm so excited. For a second, I thought I picked up one of the other ones. I was like, wait, is that Skyward? Yes, it is. Okay, we're good. Anyway, now for your favorites. So, first one being Graceling by Kristin Cashore. This is young adult fantasy, and it's about a girl. I think there's some mystery in this book as well, actually, but it's about our lead girl who has a grace. She has the ability to kill people. Which could be what does that mean? I don't know what it means, but I'm excited to find out. And also, I just assume that you would know, but graces in this world are basically like powers. Yeah. One day though, our lead girl comes across a case because there is a man who's mysteriously gone missing, and it has something to do with another guy who's Grace has caused this missing person, this kidnapping. So our lead girl kind of gets involved in this investigation, I suppose. Something like that. At least she wants to help in some way. I have no idea how. I have many questions, and I can't wait to get them answered. Another series that I have heard many, many good things about, I also own the second book, which is called Fire. I believe that Kristin Cashore started reading new books for this one. I think there's a fifth one coming called Sea Sparrow later this year, so seems like a good time to pick it up. Thank you for telling me this title. Thank you for basically telling me to read it without you knowing, but I'm looking forward to it. Then we got one that I'm actually slightly nervous to read, and it's They Both Die at the End. I just had to check if it was in or at. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, which is a young adult contemporary, I believe also romance. And oh, this is one that is a little bit hard to explain, I think, but these two guys live in a world where they're basically told on the day that they die, like tomorrow you're dying, or today's your last day. Yes. So in this world as well, there's a website for people who are going to die on that day or the next day. They'll die anyway. There's a website for these people so they can get in contact with each other, and through this website, our two lead guys get in contact and start writing each other and come up with all these things they want to experience before they both die. And they're called Mateo and Rufus. It says up here. I really like this cover. This is Mateo, this is Rufus. They both die at the end. I mean, it's a little depressing, but it's kind of cute at the same time. That's apparently a thing. Okay, we're gonna go with it. I think I'm gonna read that one during a readathon. I'm expecting sad vibes, but also happy vibes at the same time. There's a whole thing going on with, like, that's a theme apparently. So thank you for mentioning that book. I've had it on my shelves for at least since August, I think. So it's probably about time. Yeah. Then we got two Colleen Hoover books, the first one being Ugly Love, which I forgot what it's all about, but both of her books are adult contemporary romances. I believe this has something to do with toxic relationships. At least I have a feeling that that's what it's about, but kind of don't really want to know fully what it's about, other than what I remember is that it's something about I think it's a guy who this is gonna sound so sucky for a TBR, where you're supposed to explain what the books are about, but I think it's about a guy who kind of wants a no strings attached sort of thing, and a girl who doesn't really do that or something. Don't remember, but I'm excited to read it so I can recap it a little bit better for you, because honestly that was a very poor attempt, and I apologize. Excited for it, a little bit nervous, because toxicity, toxic relationships in books are always kind of hard to read about, so we will see though, we will see. The other Colleen Hoover book that I have been very kindly told is very amazing is Reminders of Him, which I believe is actually her newest one. I think it came out in January this year. I don't know what it's about, but I've been wanting to read it ever since I saw it announced, and I just haven't. So I'm gonna do it now, but I have no idea what it's about. I have a feeling, just from looking at the title, that it might be about a woman reminiscing over a guy who has passed, but I don't really know. Is it about getting over a loved one passing? I have no idea. I'm excited to read it though. Thank you for telling me to read it without you knowing. Really, none of you told me to read anything. I'm just doing it anyway. And while we're talking about books that I don't own as physical copies, I've also been told that Anxious People by, I really want to pronounce his name in a very Danish way, Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman. I don't know how to pronounce his name in Swedish, but I've been told that it's a very lovely book, so I actually bought it for Kindle so that I can read it for this month, and don't really know what it's about either, but I have heard that it's a very, very lovely book. I'm just gonna say this, I'm gonna read it from Goodreads, but it says that it's a comedy about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. Which sounds very lovely. I'm not gonna read the rest of the synopsis. I just need to know that. That is all. So I feel like it's gonna be a good one for the readathon, maybe too. I'm not really entirely sure how I'm gonna set that up, but we will see. Excited to read it nonetheless. And then we have one that I have owned since like June last year, and that is The Cruel Prince by Olivie Blake. And oh boy, am I kind of nervous to read this? Yeah, a little bit. So this is young adult fantasy. It's a very short trilogy, and everyone loves the characters in it, or at least to some degree. Not everyone. a large portion of people love the characters in it. And I'm nervous because these are very well-loved books. And I feel like if I'm gonna hate them, I'm in trouble. So we will see though. All I know is I don't fully want to read the synopsis, but what I do know is that we follow Jude, who is, well, and her sisters that are half Fae. And they live among the Fae though. I think they've been taken off to their place for some reason, I'm not really sure. And they're not really being treated well. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with them being half Fae, half human. So there's something about a guy who's kind of cruel to them. He happens to be the prince, hence the cruel prince, and something about a little romance in there. I feel like I'm getting enemies to lovers vibes, so I'm super excited for it. Can't wait to get acquainted with these characters. I keep seeing fan art of these two everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So finally gonna get acquainted with Jude and Carden and everyone else. I think there's a guy called Locke as well, but other than that, don't really know. Excited though, super excited, but also slightly nervous, just a little bit. We still got 4 more books. I told you that it was a very optimistic TBR. Hang in there for a little bit. Next one is The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. What? Vater? I have no idea. Anyway, this book is young adult fantasy. It's about a girl who lives in a world, a bright big world, whatever. In this world, they have is it every year they have a race? Start of every November, there is the Scorpio race. It's basically like a race where they ride on water horses. Not sure entirely what that means, but we will figure it out. And every year the same guy wins over and over again. He's a very secretive guy, and he's apparently just amazing at this water horse racing thing. But anyway, so, oh right, an important thing to note is that not everyone who joins this race actually lives to tell the tale of what it was like joining. So that's a thing. But in this book, our lead girl joins the race. It wasn't really her choice to, but she's kind of forced into it. And she's also the very first girl to join. So what happens? No idea, but this seems like a very well-received book and a very well-loved book. It has an award sticker on it, so I'm expecting things from it. Is it dangerous to expect things from books that you don't really know much about? Yes, but here we are anyway, playing with fire. I've been meaning to read that book for like months though. So thank you. Thank you for writing it. Then we got one that I actually meant to read a couple of months ago, and then I just did not have the time during that month to read it. So when I saw someone mentioned it, I was like, okay, this is a sign. Now is the time. And it is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. Still no idea how to pronounce her last name, but anyway. I don't fully know how to summarize this because I'm pretty sure I haven't fully read the synopsis, but I don't want to. What has been, the way that it's been pitched to me is that it's adult fantasy but with sci-fi elements, and we follow lesbian necromancers and something about a castle, and there's a lot of skulls. And that's all I want to know. Like, that's all I want to know. Yeah. I don't have anything with necromancers, and I've heard that this is like a wild ride, so I'm so excited. I read the first line because it's awesome. Or one of the first ones, but Gideon packed her sword, her shoes, and her dirty magazines, and she escaped from the house of the Ninth. She didn't run. Gideon never ran unless she had to. And that's a vibe already. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good time. I just have a feeling it's gonna be a good time. So I'm happy that it's been put on my TBR again. You literally cannot see those books, but I can't place them elsewhere, so that didn't really help. Anyway. But I'm happy that it's been placed on my TBR again, because it's gonna be a time. So the next one, I will admit, like, this is probably the one that I'm the most nervous about, and it'll make total sense in a second. I'm not nervous that I'm gonna hate it, because I don't think that I am, or that I will. I'm nervous that if I'm gonna be able to read the whole thing, and I'm nervous to get started with it, and I'm nervous that I won't fully understand everything. But this was mentioned 2 or 3 times, so I'm gonna be reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, and this is the thick boy. I'm nervous. But I'm also super excited. Have not read the synopsis, have only heard amazing things about the world building and the magic system and the writing and everything, so I just don't want to read the synopsis. I want to go into it not fully knowing what it's about. I've read the first page a couple of times by now, actually, just because I'm so fascinated and intrigued and just curious. And yeah. I think I'm gonna read this later in the month, but I'm gonna make sure that I have at least like a week to just try to get into this and like fully read it. Or I might read it alongside some other books. I haven't really fully decided how it's gonna happen, but also because I think this is a dangerous one to binge because it is so thick. There's a lot per page as well because it isn't a... That's a drawing. What in the world? Okay, but it is an adult high fantasy, not just fantasy, high fantasy. So I'm nervous, but it's gonna happen finally. Finally, someone's pushing me to do it without you knowing. But thank you regardless. And I hope that I'll manage. It'll be on me if I don't. It won't be on the book. Most definitely not. So yeah, The Way of Kings. Gonna place him over there. That's fine. He gets his own spot. It's actually dumb because I do own book 2 and 3 and I've been so close to buying book 4, but I've not read the first one yet. I feel like it'll be justified once I read that. So, but anyway, we have one more book. I don't have a physical copy of it at the moment, but I am planning on buying one before I get to it. A physical copy. Also because they just released paperbacks with new covers that actually look kind of cute. So I might get those ones. But it was the one that was mentioned the most by you, and it is Percy Jackson. I'm gonna just start out with The Lightning Thief, which is the first one. I've not read Percy Jackson, ever. I've watched the first movie. Don't remember what it was about. I'm gonna blame it on the movie, not me. Because I'm pretty sure that I was not the only one who wasn't really vibing with the movie. But seeing so many people love on these books, I feel a little bit left out, so it's time. I think it's middle grade fantasy, Greek mythology, it's Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Please don't spoil anything. I know that it's a very well-read series. I have not read it, so it'll be completely new to me, but I'm very excited to get into it, so that'll be my last book for my June TBR. Very optimistic, but I am very goal-oriented, so we're gonna do this. It's gonna happen. So if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. If you were the one who suggested them without knowing that you suggested them, also let me know. Thank you. I'm excited. I am sorry ahead of time if I end up ripping any of them to shreds, but I'll be nice about it if I do, I promise. Probably won't happen though. Probably not. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys for this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here and you want to stick around, talk about books with me and everyone in the comments, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button. But that's all. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!